He's a former city councilor and state senator and also a congressional candidate most recently. And we have Eric Griego in the studio for the next half hour. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're grateful to have you here. The city is going through their own dealings with the economy and all that. We have a mayoral election going on. We'll get your thoughts on that and stuff. You know, I don't want you to take sides or anything. I just
No.
whatever you.
I won't be endorsing anybody.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The economy is starting to show some green shoots there. I think we're in the statewide. We're about 6.7% as far as
Something
unemployment
like that, yeah.
And the individuals applying for unemployment has gone down a little bit. I'm not sure if that's accurate. I'm not sure if they moved out or what. But those numbers are not very accurate. But it's a good thing that we have some green shoots there. What are you hearing as far as the economy is concerned? Do you think that we're in the right direction right now? Is there anything specific that the current city environment is that needs to change as far as businesses and stuff? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, you know, I think a lot of people, you know, whether you talk to small business owners or consumers, I mean, there's still a lot of, cautiousness out there in terms of consuming, and you know, a lot of businesses are still sitting on a lot of capital because, you know, it's still, folks don't feel like we've come out of the, we're not quite out of the woods yet, in this economic sort of downturn we've had. But I think now more than ever, it's important that the public side, whether it's city government, county government, state, federal, what we've learned, and we learned in the Great Depression, is in those times it's very important for the public sector to start trying to spur the economy, not by spending frivolously, but by making the basic investments they need to make. And so whether it's city government saying we're going to try to invest in infrastructure like light rail we were talking about, or infrastructure that's going to make the city a more attractive place for people who want to live here, or the county to you know, and they've invested in some pretty big infrastructure to help spur economic, not just create the jobs to build a park or a senior center or a road, but thinking about it in terms of how do we redevelop areas that are going to create some economic vitality, create some, hopefully some new economic activity for new businesses. And of course the state and the federal government have to do this. There seems to be this reticence among a lot of elected officials to talk about investing, and I do think it's investing. You know, whether it's the spaceport or the rail runner, or down here in Albuquerque, should we have built or should we build an arena, a convention facility that would bring a lot more businesses in? And sometimes for elected people, you have to stick your neck out and you have to say, yeah, I will support investing more of our bond money, asking the taxpayers to say, help us invest as a city in this so that we can bring jobs. But those are sometimes tough decisions to make, right? I mean,
especially in a recession time.
Yeah, in a recession.
We're looking at a point where we're basically choking a few years back when this current mayor came in, and then the governor came in. We were in a pretty bad shape there.
Yeah.
We have to admit that we lost a lot of jobs there in the state and stuff. How do we get out of it though? Isn't it a catch-22 there where you know, if you invest money, it's a difficult thing because you're digging into your pocket, unless we get federal grants there. Of some kind of federal money there to invest in some, like the Paseo project.
Yeah.
You had the senators had to help there, and then what do you think about that project? Was that a?
Well, you know, I think it was necessary. I wish that we would have the same will to invest that, you know, tens of millions of dollars in improving other alternatives to commuting. Part of the problem with Paseo is that, you know, a lot of the growth and a lot of the activity and housing and so on has been focused in areas where we didn't have the infrastructure, right? So we've had to spend a lot of our money. What about investing in, again, you know, some alternative forms of transportation in areas where we do have population? You know, we have had this huge boom in uptown Albuquerque, and you know, but it's still very tough to get there other than by bus, right? I mean, that's, you know, I mean, other than by car, you can take a bus, but it's not the easiest trip in the world. So I guess my philosophy on this is, you know, there aren't very many people in the economic development world who will say, I will come and locate a business or grow my business solely based on you reducing my taxes. That doesn't really fly with other states.
It does affect them though.
It does affect them, but it's not the primary issue.
They don't base it on that.
No, because what they want to see is that we are smart enough, whether as a country, and if you look at the countries who are who have the highest growth rates, China and Brazil and India and the countries that are investing in huge amounts of infrastructure. Now, granted, a lot of them are way behind. Those create the sort of, they set the table for economic development. And the same is true for states. The states have really gone all in and saying, we're going to build light rail systems. We're going to build green energy capacity. We're going to expand our wireless capacity. And they make those investments as states, as counties, as cities. They become much more dynamic places to live. And they can attract the best workers, and they can attract the investment that they need. If you sort of retrench and say, oh, the economy's bad, let's not do anything except cut taxes, which further dissipates revenues, that's a philosophical difference that many people have. And I happen to believe that Franklin Roosevelt got it right in the Great Depression.
During the Great Depression,
he spent massive amounts of money to
they
build out our
him for
infrastructure.
that. Exactly. They
And
him
of course,
for it,
and guess what? Most economists, not all, but most economists would say it was the right thing. It brought us out of the brink of a pretty serious world depression that we may not have ever recovered from.
Exactly, yeah. I think infrastructure is a very important thing for us. We have a lot of people moving this town, and then eventually we have a lot of people moving out. Right now we're in the top 5 cities where people are leaving. This is according to U-Haul International. I brought this up before. How do we stop these individuals that are leaving, the 20s and the 30s? How do we stop them from leaving? I know they always talk about, well, we don't have jobs here, so we're leaving. Is there something we could do as far as that age group is concerned? How do we stop this brain drain, so to speak?
No, I think we have done a great job of investing in higher education. We have a great flagship university with the law school and the medical school, very strong at the University of New Mexico and other universities around the state. What we haven't invested in is creating a place that truly captivates, especially young families and young professionals, to say, we want to stay there because it's not only is it a beautiful place and weather and mountains and all that, culturally diverse, but it has the kind of dynamism in terms of infrastructure. Again, various transportation options, really easily accessible technology amenities like citywide wireless, which we don't even have now. We've got the possibility of putting fiber all over this city, and we haven't been able to figure out how to do that. So I think that the way you attract and keep them here is a couple things. You've got to make it a really amazing place to live and attract the kind of companies who want to employ them, because people can work anywhere. As you've said, now it's not a big deal. There was a time when you stayed where you were from, including in New Mexico. Not many people left. But now you can work, if you get a good education at UNM or one of the other universities here, you can go a lot of places, The question is, do you come back? So the first thing is that. The second thing is the most basic piece of infrastructure, it seems to me, is our education system, and not just our higher education system, our basically birth to higher education. Are we investing in quality education at all levels? Because most of those people, like me, eventually they have kids, and they want their kids to be in good schools, and there's not a tax incentive or a subsidy in the world or a recruitment strategy in the world that's going to get a company to come here if the schools are failing.
Exactly.
So that to me is the most basic piece of infrastructure we got to invest in, and all we ever talk about is how much we need to cut public education because it's so much money, but it is the most basic thing. And frankly, if you ask an economic developer behind closed doors, what is our problem? Is it really tax policy? Is it really that we don't have enough infrastructure? Say no, you don't have an educated workforce.
Exactly, yeah. Let me take a short break. We're running out for the first segment there. We'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about some of the other issues there, okay?
Sure.
Stay with us. We'll be back with Eric Griego.